normal people become terrified of criminals.
Shots were just fired. Police just came out and told us, and we're headed there right now.
They become terrified of their own government.
So we do have another massive breaking story. In fact, it is so breaking, it is a Twitter thread that has not yet been written up, but this is the Censorship Industrial Complex report being released by the GOP. Rep. Jim Jordan says, bombshell report, hundreds of secret reports show how DHS, CISA, the GEC, State Department, and Stanford, and others worked together to censor Americans before the 2020 election, including true information, jokes, and opinions. The federal government disinformation experts at universities, big tech, and others work together through the Election Integrity Partnership to monitor and censor American speech. Let me just pause right there, and I'll give you a personal example. That Election Integrity Project, or whatever it's called, claimed that I, Tim Pool, was one of the largest super spreaders of election misinformation.
You're a super spreader?
Now, here's the thing. That actually was shocking to me because I have, since the election, maintained Trump lost to Joe Biden. Often saying that the issue was ballot harvesting and things that they put up the Time magazine article. So why would they claim I was spreading misinformation when you've got it's because they want to attack influence. Right. And so long as I was reporting on, say, Texas v. Pennsylvania or instances that needed to be adjudicated, it wasn't that I was spreading misinformation. All of my sources, NewsGuard certified. It was that they could not allow there to be a narrative that there were questions that needed to be answered by courts. So they lie, claim I spread misinformation, don't say what misinformation that is. Therefore, it makes it impossible to sue them. And when the media reports it, you can't sue the media for reporting what a university said. But let's read more. Jim Jordan says, according to one EIP member, it was created at the request of CISA. The head of the EIP also stated that EIP was created after working on some monitoring ideas with CISA. EIP stakeholders, including the federal government, would submit misinformation reports. The EIP would analyze the report and find similar content across platforms. It would then submit the report to big tech, often with a recommendation on how to censor. Ladies and gentlemen, what we are seeing, what we have long speculated and gotten various reports hinting at or confirming portions of, is now the overt and direct GOP government congressional confirmation. The U.S. government intelligence agencies were using third parties through universities to censor people who supported Donald Trump.
Yeah, and they use the word stakeholders too, which just immediately makes me think of Klaus Schwab, who's like, the future isn't stockholders, it's stakeholders. It's like the whole Great Reset narrative is just either intentionally or accidentally seeping into even the writing.
Where do they use stakeholder in reference to what?
The Great Reset is like the future, the Industrial Fourth Revolution is. When he quoted it, and then the thread somewhere where he said the word stakeholders. Something like the U.S. government and other stakeholders.
They targeted politicians, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Governor Mike Huckabee.
On there.
Yeah, Candace Owens, Jack Posobiec, Charlie Kirk, Benny Johnson, Tom Fitton. Yeah,
I always hate it when I'm not on these lists.
I know. They put it in my Wikipedia page that I'm a super spreader based on the EAP, and Jim Jordan didn't even give me an honorable mention. Come on, Jim.
We got to bring him on the show.
I met him once for 15 minutes. No, they also say Michelle Malkin, Dave Rubin, James O'Keefe. It's absolutely insane.
But who isn't on the list is even more telling.
Right. Here's some examples. Here's one. It's a tweet from Newt Gingrich saying Pennsylvania Democrats are methodologically Why can't I say that word? Changing the rules, because I want to say methodologically, but then I keep going back.
You made it too complicated.
Methodically, changing the rules so they can steal an election. It is amazing, open, dishonest, ruthless, and I can't read what it says, unless the state is flooded with law
enforcement. And that was
enforcement.
before the election, too. So he's not even making a false claim about who won the election.
And it's an opinion. It's an opinion.
No opinions for Newt
censored
Gingrich. I mean, that's the thing, though. They will pick all kinds of people that they don't want talking. At the same time,
here's a joke they removed.
No comedy either, you know?
He said, Mike Huckabee said, stood in the rain for an hour to early vote today. When I got home, I filled in my stack of mail-in ballots and then voted the ballots of my deceased parents and grandparents. They vote just like me. He's making a joke. That's absolutely amazing.
But no, he really did that.
Who did we miss? Did you have a social media post that was targeted by the EIP? It's clear why Stanford tried to only produce these after the judiciary, GOP, and weaponization threatened contempt. Yes, I will absolutely be reaching out to my representatives about how I can assist for if there is any action being taken based on the people who are named. I absolutely will throw my name in.
Let's get Jim Jordan on the show. Cassandra, make it happen. I love that guy personally, and I think this is very prescient.
Absolutely.
But also, what
this
happens? That's my thing. Like, I think this is great information to come out, and then what? That's what I worry about with all of these. We had an investigation, we uncovered this stuff. Anyways, now that we've told you, that's the end of it.
Well, now what you do is you build censorship-resistant systems, protocols, things like Noster, however you want to pronounce it. Did an interview with Bill Ottman today, CEO and founder of Minds, talking about censorship resistance and things like that. Briar, mesh networking, things that can't be censored. You can always censor them locally, like you can blacklist them from appearing on your part of the network, but you can't make it go away.
Well, the crazy thing too is just like we were talking about earlier, a lot of the stuff that's coming out now is stuff that was already publicly known. Like if you did a little bit of research years ago, you could find details about the Hunter Biden laptop, what was on it. There's BidenLaptopEmails.com where you can search based on keyword and find stuff. Like the public was able to access the information that while Joe Biden was vice president, $23.7 million went to MetaBiota, and Rosemont Seneca Partners was invested in MetaBiota, so those returns would have gone back to Joe Biden's pocket. And so that information's already been public for years, and now we're just seeing these committees just admit that it's real, admit that the laptop's real, admit that this evidence is real. I think that it's just telling how screwed up our system is when it's not about whether or not people have access to the truth, but it's about who admits the truth is true.
In March of 2021, EIP put out a report a report by The Guardian reported on it, saying 15 of the top 21 offenders were verified, including Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., James O'Keefe, Tim Pool, Elijah Riot, and Sidney Powell. All 21 of the top accounts for misinformation leaned right-wing, the study showed. I never put out misinformation, and that's why, and everyone knows this, all of my sources always are certified by NewsGuard. I think NewsGuard is biased. I think they have posted incredibly wrong information about Timcast.com. They did this dirty trick where they claimed that they emailed us, and because we didn't respond, they downgraded us again, even though we checked, they didn't.
How are you right-wing, though? I don't think of you as like a right-winger.
Well, it's lies, but here's my point. If I'm going to use their standard for what's true, and they call me misinformation, that's exactly the point. So there was a really interesting story pertaining to COVID and lab leak, where they wrote, I think they wrote it in our, NewsGuard wrote it in our report or someone else's. I can't remember which one. And they said that I think it was ours. They said, it is incorrect. It was something about like Ukraine labs or something like that. It's not true. This was never revealed. And then I showed them the New York Post and the Daily Mail, NewsGuard certified sources confirming what they claimed was false. I said, now hold on. You say this story about COVID lab leak is false, but you certified Daily Mail and the New York Post as factual, and they claim both of these that it's true. So who do I trust? The random employee telling me I'm wrong or your own certified news sources? Right. And they were like, oops. If Stanford is going to come out and accuse me of wrongdoing, despite that, it shows you that it's political, it is fake, and they are simply trying to steal an election.
Yeah. I mean, not to bring up the student loan crisis, but all universities are basically dependent on federal funding, and so that means that they are an arm of the federal government to a certain extent. Yeah. They want to make the federal government happy, and so they'll play ball with them in whatever way possible. I mean, the relationship is obvious, and yet we pretended like this wasn't going to happen. I don't know. I don't get it.
I mean, what did you say about the student loan crisis that they're
I
buying
just mean,
people
like,
off by paying it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're at college, right, and you know that you can charge whatever you want, as long as you make the person take out student loans, which are guaranteed by the federal government because you can't declare bankruptcy on them, and they will give them to whoever they think needs them.
Then you are
getting
government's
federal
bidding.
Money under this idea of like, oh, we're bringing in students. But
Not
then,
to mention the direct funding that they just give too.
Yeah.
So you're ineligible for your funding as a university if you don't enforce our Title IX regulations, which don't allow the defendant to face his victim if he's accused of sexual assault on campus and things like that. So you see these kids getting kicked out of college and stuff for false accusations of sexual assault. It's not even a criminal court. It's just a college court that has to do what Title IX says. Otherwise, they're not eligible for federal funding for the university. So you see a lot of atrocities happen on college campuses related to the fact that they're so vulnerable and so dependent on the federal government's funding. And I think we have the same problem at the state level. Like, we wouldn't see a civil war from a state unless things got way more extreme than they even got in 1862, in my opinion, because all the states are so financially dependent on federal aid for things like roads and infrastructure. It's like they give us so much money, we would never rebel against them because all of a sudden that's cut off at a state level. It'd have to be the people that would stand up. It's never going to be a state government.
You know, I have to wonder with the release of this report coming from official government sources, that has to grant every single one of us standing in a lawsuit against the government and some kind of restitution for this. I mean, they were attacking our businesses, they were attacking our character, and they were lying.
Well, and especially in this business, your credibility is extremely important. And for them to say you're a super spreader of misinformation based on nothing from Stanford University, that's a direct attack on your livelihood. But again, I stand by. As important as I think this report is, I think it's good, even if we all kind of knew this was happening anyways, to get the truth out there. What are the consequences that anyone involved in this faces? Realistically, what can we expect going forward?
Well, one of the things I was thinking is that we no longer have public colleges and make them all private and not allowed to take government money.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, we should stop giving out
No more
student loans. That makes
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's because
that
it
made
put
college expensive too. All the student loans. It's like, oh, there's this
Right,
big
because
customer that just came to town.
you can charge whatever you want. Also, Joe Biden is on the campaign trail saying, I'm going to forgive student loan debt. Or you could just stop giving out student loans.
Right.
Right? This broken system that put millions of Americans into debt, we are just continuing to say we're going to do, even though on the other hand, we're saying we're going to forgive student loans. It doesn't make any sense. If the system's broken, stop doing it.
How integrated is the student loan? What is it? Fannie Mae, Freddie? Are those the
Do like a FAFSA application, right? Is that what it was when you go to college? And
Yeah,
then they
FAFSA.
tell you whether you're eligible or not. And then
Yeah.
they give you all the cash. And as long as you're a student, you don't have to start paying it back. And even if you don't pay it back, I don't think they can arrest you for it. So there's a lot of people that go and they just never make payments. It wrecks your credit. But
That's
if you
where
just
we're at right
refuse to
now.
pay it back, that's probably why they're just forgiving it, because they know they're not going to get it
And
anyway.
it doesn't incentivize colleges to actually do anything to make college affordable, right?
All the prices went
The
way up.
expectation is that you take out a student loan, a government-backed loan,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not that they accommodate you in any way. I mean, that's why it's interesting to see, like University of Phoenix or online programs that are saying like, we're trying to give you an option here that is affordable,
Mm-hmm.
because ultimately,
Isn't that where Shaq went? University of Phoenix got his doctorate?
probably
Dr.
and he's got
Shaq.
Solid.
tons of money.
Dr.
But
O'Neill in the
it's a system that
Slam
the federal government ultimately benefits from, because they say you should go to college. College is so important.
Right.
Also, take
They
our
were
money.
smart, though. They would only offer it for targeted fields. They'd be like, all right, our competitor's doing this, so we need more engineers. But how do we incentivize people to be engineers? Oh, we give them way more, or we only give money to people who are going to major in this thing
Yeah.
or graduate with this thing, and you're only eligible for your interest rate's way higher if you don't graduate, and if you graduate, it goes down. There's ways you can manipulate how you give people money to get them to do what you want, but
Well,
they're
especially
just blanketing it.
Well, we know that there are worker shortages in certain fields, right? It's not an immediate solution. They have to go through training. It'll be 4 or 5 year delay. On the other hand, you would get qualified people going into that. There are enough students entering college who say, I don't really know what I want to do. That if you said, but I'll give you a scholarship.
Yeah,
if
I'm going to loan you money for a business
specifically-
you don't know you want to start yet.
It doesn't make any sense. If I was saying, oh, there's a nursing shortage, right? Or there's I don't know what, is specific types of someone who works with, elderly people. And I said,
That's
you
a good
go,
one, 'cause the
you go to
boomers-
college, right? Boomers are get real old. If you go to college for this thing, I will give you the money for it. You have to graduate with this degree and go into that field. That would make way more sense to me than the government saying, no worries, you
Right.
may
English
wanna
literature, you got it.
Yeah, and I did get a degree. No, I'm just kidding. That's the thing. It doesn't make sense. And ultimately, I don't understand why the federal government logically would be supporting this unless they know ultimately they're able to pull strings and have universities back sort of nefarious schemes that they have contrived to pull off against the American people.
If I had not been able to get a loan for theater or for whatever general, I did like communications and journalism and then theater, but I could have got a loan for like a math degree. I would have got a math degree
Yeah.
because I didn't have the money. I couldn't have gone to college without a loan.
Or what if they didn't give you a loan for anything and you just went and got a job? You might be working construction.
I would just
right
started doing theater, local theater, went up to Cleveland, done theater in Cleveland. That's kind of what I was doing anyway.
The
I
best
would've
part
just
of my
gotten
day would be that 30 seconds between the car and your front door. Good Will Hunting, when I knock and you're not there.
Oh, because
That's
he
why I
wants
would
to like
miss
go
it.
off
I
and do
miss it.
something
Yeah,
else.
Great movie,
shouldn't
though.
you shouldn't be a construction worker. You should be doing exactly what you're doing.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.